Hey, what's up guys? Today we're going to be filming on the DJI Ronin S with the A7R III. We've got the 16 to 35 GM 2.8 lens on this setup. Over here we've got the DJI Osmo Pocket. What we plan to do is compare the audio quality, compare the picture between the two. Want to see how these stack up. We've got a professional rig over here, obviously going to cost you a lot more. Over here we've got the DJI Osmo Pocket. This is a much cheaper price point. Obviously, I expect the professional rig to perform better, but what I want to answer for you is, does it justify the cost difference? So are we really talking about a picture and audio that's going to sound and look almost 4 or 5K better than the DJI Osmo? The Osmo's so compact and portable too, we want to take that into account. I've also got the GoPro strapped to my chest here, so we're going to be able to check that out and about as we go. With that said, let's go ahead and dive in. Let's get out there and see how these two perform. I am going to be filming on 4K 30 on both devices, so we're not stacking any of the cards. I'll also do some B-roll in 120 at 1080p. So we'll get both of those examples, and with that, let's go ahead and dive in. See you guys out there. I can tell you already I've noticed my right arm's getting a lot more tired than my left arm here, if you can imagine carrying something that weighs way more than this DJI Osmo Pocket. So what we're gonna do is go down to the beach. I'm hoping we can have some wind noise down there because we've seen some issues with the Osmo, so we'll see how that stacks up. We do have the Rode Videomicro Plus on top of here. I just purchased this, so that's something I expect to perform really well when we're down by the ocean if there is a lot of wind noise, but we'll see. So that was the general walking test. Let me know what you guys think. Just kind of walking down the street right now, seeing how the overall stabilization does. So far, I think we're gonna see pretty comparable stabilization, but with the size of the professional rig here, not only is it a lot heavier, but it's probably gonna stabilize a little bit better as well. So luckily for the Osmo Pocket, it's actually not that windy today, so I don't think we're gonna have too many issues with the audio quality. The other thing here I wanna mention is I'm not gonna do too much B-roll because the slow motion, the 120 frame rate, is actually gonna mess with the stabilizations. All right, so we just got to the skate park here in Venice. What we're gonna go ahead and do is film this graffiti wall up here that's really cool. So we're gonna get some close-ups of that, really look at the image quality, and we'll go from there. Another thing worth noting here is that I'm not using picture profile like I normally would on my Sony. We're using picture profile off because this doesn't support picture profile, so it wasn't fair to compare it that way. We're gonna get better dynamic range if we do grading, so I turned that off. It is something I guess you would get out of this by default, but when we're comparing the two rigs, I wanted to kind of make them as close as possible. So let's go back to the studio now. We'll compare the footage that we just recorded, see what we think overall impressions, wrap up our thoughts. One reason I wanted to record this scene right now is because there is a lawnmower behind me, so we get some background noise. I'm curious how the audio sample sounds between the two. So we did the walk test earlier. Let's go ahead and do a quick run test. I've got the Osmo in my left hand, the Ronin in my right hand. I've also got the GoPro on my chest, so we can compare that as well. All right, so that was about as fast as I could practically run with this gear. Let me know what you guys think. Which looks better to you? Well, I was really surprised by some of that footage. The Osmo really did a better job at some of those higher speeds when we were running. The stabilization seemed to be a little bit better, where actually at slower speeds, I really felt that the Ronin S plus the A7R III was a better setup. It really makes sense because the Ronin's a heavier setup, so the faster you're moving, the more it's gonna push your hand around, whereas the lighter setup, you can keep your arm pretty stable, and then it doesn't have to do as much work with the gimbal. Really, I mean, it's pretty much night and day difference when you look at picture quality, audio quality, so that's not even something you really want to compare, but what you do want to look at is it good enough for you? Osmo being a much cheaper price point, as well, it's something that's just so easy to throw in your pocket and always have on you. My big question to myself with this test was, do I want to carry the Osmo Pocket or the Sony RX100 Mark V as my kind of stow and go type of shooter? And I actually think after this type of test, I'm leaning more towards the RX, simply because I noticed a few times where the Osmo had trouble grabbing focus. It didn't necessarily look that good, even though the environment looked good around me. The picture just looked kind of flat. That being said, I still love this device. It's amazing for time lapses. Take a look at an example here I did with the Osmo, especially motion lapse, because it has the gimbal. It's very easy to configure. But again, I'll leave it up to you guys whether you think it's worth it or not to go ahead and purchase the Osmo. I think you can see the differences here, and that should be enough to evaluate for your decisions. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, guys. It's been a pleasure having you here today. I do vlogs on the weekends. We do Teaching Tuesdays, and then we do tech reviews on Thursdays. Lots of content coming in 2019, so go ahead and smash that subscribe button. I'll see you guys next time.